On July 29, 2021, Swedish journalist Rasmus Canbäck received an email from a man named Emil Mirzoyev inviting him to join a project that sheds light on the situation after the military conflict in the Nagorno-Karabakh area. Mirzoyev describes the project as a collaboration between Swedish journalists and a diaspora organization in Azerbaijan. He goes on to say that a number of Swedish journalists have already accepted this invitation and mentions their plans to travel to Azerbaijan. Their flights, their stay at the Hilton, and all expenses paid. He even mentions a trip to Shushi, a prominent Armenian city that had been captured by Azerbaijan a year before. What Mirzoyev didn't know at the time, Canbäck had already been to Shushi prior to Azerbaijan's invasion 4 times. In case you're new to the region, there are 2 ways one could enter the territory of Artsakh. Anyone who enters Artsakh through Armenia, as Canbäck had done on his previous visits, is blacklisted and considered a persona non grata by the oil-rich authoritarian state of Azerbaijan. You see, Azerbaijan considers this their territory and wants journalists to enter under their supervision only, accompanied everywhere by an official guide, making sure they control the narrative.
What happened to the church?
During the war it was destroyed.
It can't have been destroyed during the war, because there are videos of the Azeris here.
No, it wouldn't happen. They destroyed it themselves.
The Azerbaijani government isn't the only one interested in keeping journalists out of Artsakh, but more on that later. Canbäck had a lot of questions. What was this organization in Sweden? Who were the other journalists who accepted this invitation? And most importantly, where was all the money coming from? Mirzoyev was not being helpful in answering any of these questions. When asked about the funding, he claimed the Congress of Azerbaijanis in Sweden would be paying for it, funded by 2,400 members and certain businessmen in Sweden. When asked, he does not answer who these businessmen are. And data from the Swedish Agency for Youth and Civil Society showed that this association didn't even have 1,000 members at the time. Canbäck estimates that even if we assume generous numbers for their membership and their fees, it would barely cover the trip for one person. Later on, Mirzoyev would claim that the money was coming from voluntary donations, but by then, thanks to Canbäck's publications, the chairman of the Swedish Publicists Association, Agneta Nordin, who had gone on one of these trips, would end up resigning, saying, "In hindsight, it is clear that I should have researched better and not gone." Good. Good on you, Agneta. Although it is not illegal to offer a journalist's an all-expenses-paid trip to another country, there is an indirect expectation of favor. It is especially inappropriate given that they were being asked to cover the conflict from a particular point of view. Rasmus Canbäck writes, according to professional journalistic rules, which you commit to when you join the Swedish Journalists Association, you must neither accept gifts such as invitation trips, nor should you give in to pressure from outsiders. That is also why Sweden's public radio banned any journalists who attended these trips from covering news related to Azerbaijan, thanks to Canbäck's investigation. Furthermore, the Swedish Agency for Youth and Civil Society refused to continue funding 2 Azerbaijani associations. Canbäck also exposed a think tank with links to the Azerbaijani government being funded by the Swedish Foreign Ministry, despite being aware of its connection to the Aliyev family, who rule over Azerbaijan, the second longest ruling family in the world after the Kims of North Korea. In fact, Azerbaijan's aggressive state lobbying in Europe has gotten them great results. For example, influencing votes against a resolution by the Council of Europe to condemn Azerbaijan. With an EU that loves to preach about its low corruption and high morals, this should be called out every time. Rasmus Canbäck has been the target of Azerbaijani trolls online. In August alone, he had to block 150 accounts on Twitter. Data analysis of Twitter activity later revealed that Azerbaijan's online army has been massively successful at propagating sympathetic views towards the country. They achieve this by collectively making certain hashtags trend, such as #NoPelosi during Nancy Pelosi's visit to Armenia in September, when the hashtag was tweeted 2,370 times with 27 seconds between each tweet, on average. One account alone tweeted "No Pelosi" 519 times, which equates to an average of 3 tweets per minute over 24 hours. Azerbaijan's ambassador to Sweden, Zaur Ahmadov, also often attacks Canbäck and his editor on Twitter and shares defamatory remarks about them, sometimes accompanied by a cartoon. For example, he retweeted an Azeri defamatory cartoon accusing Canbäck of corruption and calling his media outlet an Islamophobic and Turkophobic portal. The ambassador deleted his retweet shortly after Reporters Without Borders emailed him asking for an explanation. The ambassador has also denied the use of online trolls. However, when the head of the Swedish section of Reporters Without Borders, Erik Hallskär, called this behavior a disgrace to international diplomacy, he was also attacked by anonymous trolls. Reporters Without Borders writes that this is not an uncommon tactic employed by the Azerbaijani government to harass its media critics in democratic countries, at times resorting to more radical methods such as intimidation, death threats, and even knife attacks. Such was the case for Mohammad Mirzali, an Azerbaijani blogger and outspoken critic of the Aliyev regime, who was badly injured in a knife attack in the French city of Nantes in March 2021 and continues to receive death threats designed to silence him. As for Canbäck, he has been covering Artsakh and writing a book about it since 2019, but this year, for the first time, he was denied entry to Artsakh at the behest of the Russian forces who have controlled access to the region since 2020. Yet another matter where the Russian and Azerbaijani objectives seemingly align. Denying free entry for international journalists to Artsakh at a time when all eyes need to be on the region is frankly abhorrent and needs to be pushed back against. Freedom House put it best when they said, Aliyev's success in using military aggression to strengthen his regime may have contributed to Vladimir Putin's decision to invade Ukraine. Putin himself has utilized such tools several times in the past, and now there was a reason to believe that it would work again. And if you want to learn more about that, check out my video about Armenians in Ukraine.